What's up, everybody? This is EchoLynx. Today, we're going over the Putting It All Together room from TryHackMe. This is part of the How the Web Works module in the pre-security pathway. We'll get started with Task 1. They give you a quick summary. You request a website, your computer queries DNS to find the IP address, and then your computer talks to the web server using HTTP requests. The web server responds with an HTTP response and provides HTML, JavaScript, CSS, images, everything your browser needs to format and display the website. That's the flow. Answer the question at the bottom confirming you've read this, and you're done with Task 1. Next is Task 2. Other components: load balancers, CDNs, databases, and WAFs. Imagine you have one web server with a single copy of everything needed to render your website. If millions of people visit, that server quickly gets overloaded and can crash. Companies use multiple servers, each holding copies of the site, and put a load balancer in front. Your request goes to the load balancer, which distributes traffic among the servers. Common methods include round robin, each server takes a turn, and weighted. The load balancer sends requests to the least busy server. Load balancers also perform health checks to ensure hosts are live. If one fails, traffic is sent to the remaining healthy servers. A content delivery network, CDN, solves the problem of distance. If a company like Google only had servers in the United States, users in Australia would experience latency. Large companies place copies of site assets on thousands of servers worldwide. You're automatically directed to the closest one. That's what a CDN is: globally distributed servers hosting static files to speed up visits. Databases store information for your site, usernames, passwords, and other data your website needs to access. A web application firewall, WAF, sits in front of the web server to protect it by filtering malicious requests and blocking traffic that doesn't meet its criteria. Questions: what can be used to host static files and speed up client visits? A CDN. What does a load balancer perform to make sure the host is still live? A health check. What can be used to help against the hacking of websites? A WAF, web application firewall. Answer those to finish Task 2. On to Task 3. How web servers work. A web server is a computer running special software that waits for incoming traffic and responds. Common web server software includes Apache, among others. The web server serves files, JavaScript, CSS, images, from its root directory, which is configured when you set up the server. If you request a file like picture.jpg, it's served from that root directory. Virtual hosts allow one web server to host multiple websites. A configuration file maps domain names to their respective root directories. When the server receives a request, it checks the domain name and serves the correct site. For example, 1.com maps to one root directory and 2.com maps to another. The server serves 1.com or 2.com based on the request. Static versus dynamic content. Static content is non-changing: pictures, JavaScript, CSS, and some HTML. Dynamic content changes based on the request. A blog's homepage showing different posts on different days is dynamic. Those changes happen on the backend, server side, using scripting languages. The results are rendered on the front end, client side, in your browser. The client does not see the backend code. It only receives the rendered result. The room shows common backend scripting languages and a PHP example to illustrate that the code executes server-side. Questions: what does web server software use to host multiple sites? Virtual hosts. What is the name for content that can change? Dynamic. Does the client see the backend code? Nay. Answer these to finish Task 3. Next is Task 4. Interactive quiz. Arrange the steps of a typical web request in order. You start by requesting the website. Your computer checks locally to see if it has the IP address. If not, it consults your recursive DNS server, which asks the root servers where to go. Those point to the authoritative DNS server that hosts the domain's records. The request then passes through a firewall, protecting the actual server, and through a load balancer, after which you connect to the server, the TCP three-way handshake. The web server receives the request, accesses a database as needed to gather everything required to render the website, and your browser renders the site. At the end, you'll see your flag, copy, and paste it. Once you've done that, you've finished task 4. With that, you've completed the putting it all together room from TryHackMe.